Hello guys, welcome back to Garage Football. Here's our reactions to our Premier League predictions for the 2021-22 season, which has got to be up there with one of the best Premier League seasons of all time. So I'm joined by Lou and Ryan, and we'll go through our predictions. As I say, some were very good and some not so good, as we'll come on to later. So if you're new around here, please subscribe to Garage Football and let us know your Premier League predictions. Were they any good, or were they rubbish? Let us know in the comments below. Great to read those. So, lads, Lou, Ryan, thanks for joining, lads. So, as I say, it was a fantastic Premier League season, and some of our predictions were really spot on, and some of them were absolutely terrible. So, and that's just mine. So, we'll get on to let's go with how the teams actually finished up. So let's start with the bottom side with Norwich. Again, not the great season for Norwich. A bit similar to how it was a couple of seasons ago. Lou, we'll start with you. What did you make of Norwich? The season just gone.
Yeah, it was a disaster for them, wasn't it? They had a really rough one. I think, obviously, when we did our Premier League predictions, obviously, the start of the season, I think we all unanimously said that we thought Norwich would, have a bit of a difficult one. I think they conceded the most goals in the entire league, didn't they, this year as well? The interesting thing actually was I remember I went back and watched our Premier League prediction one, or at least as much of it as I could, and there was a bit that was quite cool where you were saying obviously you were hoping they'd stick with Daniel Farke or Farke, is that how you say his name? How you pronounce
Farke,
it? Yeah. Obviously that didn't go to plan, did it? So because I know you were saying you hope they stick with him, didn't you, as well? They just sort of went quite wrong from really the whole season, didn't it? It was just
they didn't have their score wasn't as good as they were a couple of seasons ago. Even that wasn't the best score, was it? They sold, Emi Buendia to Aston Villa before the season started. It's like, well, you get rid of your best player, it's going to be very difficult. And as you say, Ray conceded the most in the league, 84 goals, and this only scored 23 goals, the least in the Prem by far. If you concede the most and scored the least, well, you're only going to finish bottom, aren't you? So I thought it was harsh sacking Farke. Dean Smith come in, did okay when he come in, but with limited players, he's an experienced manager. He's not going to do very good any better, is he? So, but it would be surprised if Norwich get promoted again next season. That's just the way they are, isn't it? So, Ryan, what do you make of Norwich?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I say, I predicted them to go out. I think Norwich always remain too good for the Championship, it seems, but never good enough for the Premier League. And, at no point in the campaign did they look like staying up. They conceded, like you say, more than any other club, scored fewer than any other club, and won fewer matches than any other club. So, yeah, just a terrible season for them.
No, absolutely. So in our obviously predictions, so we get no points, which is great. The less points, the better. A bit like golf, obviously the less points, the better. So and that continues, lads, with the side that finished 19th, which was Watford. Again, we all got this spot, and we all thought they'd finish 19th. Ryan, we'll come to you first. I mean, a similar kind of story to Norwich, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, not good for them. I mean, ultimately, I had a feeling that they might, have a bit of a chance with Ranieri, but obviously they sacked him and the other manager as well. So they sacked two managers. But like I say, defence not good enough. 77 goals conceded. So Rob Edwards is the new manager next season. Who knows? But just not a good season. I didn't have any sort of confidence in them. But like I say, it's a shame, really. Like I say, they've got through two managers this season, and it's a shame that Ranieri couldn't be the manager to keep them up with, obviously, the history he had with Leicester and other clubs as well, really.
Yeah, and Roy Hodgson, even he couldn't keep them up. Do you know what I mean? No. A bit like Sam Allardyce, West Brom the previous season. It's like, well, you can't, even if you're a good manager, you can't keep up with rubbish players. Do you know what I mean? So it's tough, really. I mean, Lou, you must feel the same as me and Ryan. I mean, it looked like the Ryan was on the ball before the season started. It wasn't a great surprise that Cisco was the first manager to be sacked with Watford's managerial track record of sacking managers, and it's caught up with them again, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, like you say, it's not too much of value. I think I can add, we all had the same sort of gut feeling based on their history and stuff. And in recent seasons, they haven't really been scoring as many goals. And I think they're pretty much on par. I mean, was it like 7 or 8 goals less conceded than Norwich this year? And they're another one, aren't they, that didn't have an out-and-out goal scorer as well. So
apart from Dennis, Emmanuel Dennis is probably the only one. I think he got double figures. I think he was the only. Maybe Ismail Sarr as well. Apart from that, no one else really stood out for him.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Burnley, the last relegated side. So I'm really disappointed, actually, that Burnley relegated. Some fans probably not like bothered, but I think it's more for having Sean Dyche as their manager. Really, that was the pull for me with Burnley. But they sacked Sean Dyche. Okay, they didn't have a particularly great season, but when you don't invest, with the money that they compared to other clubs in and around them, they only just stayed up the previous season, finished 17th, and didn't spend a lot of money in the summer transfer window. Apart from Cornet, did really well. But Ryan, probably one season too many for Burnley, and Mike Jackson did well in the interim, but in the end he couldn't keep him up. So I think it was harsh on Sean Dyche, but they just didn't have that goal threat, did they?
No, I agree. Like I say, Mike Jackson, they did his best, but obviously they went down on the final day. But obviously Burnley just started terribly, winning just one of their first 21 matches. And Dyche, the longest serving manager in the Premier League at the time, it's just sad to see that he got the sack, really. But I don't see Burnley coming back for a while. I think they're going to need some investment. They're going to need some kind of morale boost. I could be wrong. I'd like to see him back, but I think it's, dark times ahead for them, really.
Well, I think you're right, mate. I think they've got a lot of money to owe, apparently. 67 million bill, I think the parachute payments will go a little bit towards it, but will they be able to invest in the squad? So, Lou, what do you remember of Burnley this season?
Yeah, it's a shame, really, because we sort of got accustomed to them being a Premier League team, and obviously Sean Dyche. I always remember, I can't remember if it was Joey Barton's podcast or something, but I remember the first ever interview I heard with him that you turned me on to.
Joey Barton's The Edge, yeah.
Yeah, and a great insight into the man and the type of person he is, and the insight into the club and that in terms of player analytics and data science. That's become more and more commonplace now in Premier League club. But this was a good 5-6 years ago, so I sort of got accustomed and sort of. Quite used to seeing them in the Premier League, but obviously it just hasn't worked out. It seems to be more in recent times, doesn't it? If you have a really, really bad start to the season, it's really hard to recover. And especially, like we said with the previous two teams, you concede a lot and you don't score many, then you are pretty much doomed. And if you don't have the financial resources to invest, prior to the season to strengthen those positions, or even in January, you're absolutely finished, really, aren't you? So it is a shame, and for Burnley, it does seem like it might be a bit of a rebuilding job. Maybe not too similar to the other two clubs as well. Like you said, change of philosophies, looking at younger players and things like that, and maybe some more grassroots talent and stuff. But yeah, I think it's a shame. It's quite a shame to see them go down, really. But I do think it will be maybe a season or two, maybe until they're able to kind of get themselves back up there again.
Yeah, it depends who they get as a manager as well. That's also a big factor as well. So only scored 34 goals. That was the joint second worst in the division. Then you're always going to struggle, aren't you? So, so this is where it gets interesting with the at the point. So Lou, you actually got that bang on, mate. You got that bang on, mate. Well done. So you got all the relegation sides spot on in the correct order. Whereas me and Ryan, we got it slightly wrong. So I thought Brentford we get the last relegation spot. So I was 5 out with Brentford.
Here we go.
How about Brentford later? And here's Ryan. Ryan in the predictions video, he said this might shock you, and it fucking well did as well. He said Wolves to get relegated. So you were you were 8 places away with Wolves.
I just had this feeling, obviously Nuno going to Spurs and this, that, and the other. I just thought they were going to basically just lose the plot. But I was completely wrong.
Yeah, there we are, mate. So, right, let's move on. So this is one that I badly got wrong, which was Leeds in 17th. What a season for Leeds. Injuries didn't help them. Patrick Bamford was out for majority of the season. Calvin Phillips as well. They did have, luckily, Jack Harrison and Rafinha did brilliantly for him to keep him up. Rafinha scoring that goal against Brentford on the last day. Sacked Marcelo Bielsa. They were conceding far too many goals. It's just 79 goals. That's a crazy amount to concede, but they scored quite a bit. As I say, Rafinha got 11 goals, Jack Harrison got 8, so they proved vital. Lou, what do you make of Leeds? They eventually managed to stay up. Jesse Marsh come in, eventually did the job, but it's just second season syndrome for Leeds, wasn't it?
terrible, isn't it? Really bad. I can't remember if I thought that during our original video, I'm pretty sure I thought they'd struggle just because it's different.
You had them as you had them as 12.
Yeah,
Which is quite a bad shout.
But yeah, they it's a shame really, because they were sort of the feel good story of the last sort of 2 or 3 years, really, weren't they? You know, and like the way it was quite refreshing to see a Championship side come up, play so fearlessly last season and stuff like that. But this season's been a disaster for them. Like you say, it seems like injury is the main thing that absolutely obliterated their season, really. And especially losing key players, like you said, like Calvin Phillips, etc. But yeah, I mean, I think they actually conceded 2 more goals than was it Watford? Yeah, Watford. So you think like it sort of sums it up, really, doesn't it? Like when you conceding that many, I think, like you say, Rafinha was sort of the star man, if you like. But I don't really know. I mean, what do you reckon, Bill, with Bielsa, where it went wrong? Because it went so right for the first couple of seasons, you know, from the Championship and up to the Premier League. Where did it go so wrong this year?
Yeah, so I think the injuries, and I think with Marcelo Bielsa's way of playing, I think that it's been proven throughout his managerial career that, you know, his teams do get tired out eventually. He likes to work with a small squad. Could they have invested a little bit more to get some more players in? I think that probably would have helped him, especially playing with basically no centre forward for the majority of the season. But yeah, they need to reset their transfer strategy. I mean, Ryan, what do you make of Leeds? It was a surprise, I think, for all of us.
Yeah, it was a big surprise. Like I say, I predicted them to finish 11th. So, you know, I thought they were going to do well on the back of last season. But like you say, second season syndrome for them. You know, missing key players, etc. And you know, I think what it is, I think a lot of the other teams kind of worked out their style and they couldn't react to it, unfortunately. And you know, 79 goals conceded, second worst in the league. It's just not good enough, and just lucky enough to stay up, really.
No, they were. No, definitely. Yeah, but in terms of the predictions, yeah, I thought they'd finish 8th. So I got 9. It was 9 places. I got that badly wrong. That was the worst prediction I come up with. As you say, Ryan, you had Leeds at 11th, and then Lou, you had them in 12th. So we all badly suffered with Leeds, how bad they did this season. But let's move on to a team of 16th. Another team that threw us off was Everton. God, what a bad season for Everton. Absolutely shocking, wasn't it? You know, I mean, first of all, Rafa Benitez, a very capable manager, but I think I said in our predictions he might get hounded out of town, and he pretty much did, didn't he? I didn't expect it to be as bad under him, I've got to say. But yeah, shocking. And you know, Frank Lampard, he eventually come in and managed to keep him up. I think, you know, got the crowd, Goodison Park crowd on side. I think their home form was fantastic, and then keeping their away form was absolutely atrocious. So, but yeah, I think you know, Richarlison, fair play to me. I think he got 10 goals. He was vital, especially with Dominic Calvert-Lewin being injured for a lot of the season. But big wake up call for Everton, I've got to say. Ryan, Everton. I mean, God, I know they've spent a lot of money, but that's just shown this season that you can spend all the money. If you don't get the right players in, you're going to struggle.
Exactly that. Like you say, big wake-up call. It's shocking with the investment. I mean, like you say, Benitez did not bridge either gap, did he? You know, the team came nowhere near the European places and sacked, I think it was January, you know, like 6 months into his reign. So, I mean, I don't think anyone was bothered. You know, there was no tears shed when he left from the Everton fans. It was a terrible appointment, wasn't it, really? But then, obviously, Frank Lampard came in. I think they were 16th when he arrived as well. But, you know, the fact that we're talking about Everton in a relegation battle is just, you know, disaster in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, shocking. Yeah. I mean, and for you, Lou?
Yeah, same. I just feel like in some ways they maybe were trying to do something a bit different and brave, and you know, appoint an experienced manager, especially like the sort of, you know, the history between him and the clubs and the fans and stuff. But it just seems like it derailed the season before it even started. It just seems so bizarre. Yeah. And I think probably that's just what blew their season up before it even kicked off, really, you know? I just think they're never going to get behind him and stuff. And obviously you, myself and Ryan went up to Liverpool in November time, you know, so sort of less than halfway into the season. And obviously they were talking a bit about it, weren't they? Sort of saying it's a bit weird, really, because he's loved within the community for what they do for like charity things.
But not on the blue side.
But not on the blue side. So yeah, it's just a very weird.
It's a weird atmosphere. I don't think it was ever going to last, was it? You know?
Well, no, exactly. But even so, I thought he'd at least last the season, then get hounded out.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, you look.
it
Was it the season before? There have been what's his face, Ancelotti and stuff, and they're bringing in Rodriguez and all this, and then they're going to now bring in Benitez in, fracturing the fan base and battling relegation within a year.
Yeah, so well, I think they fucked themselves over the years. Their transfer business, they had to go cheap with getting Andros Townsend and Demario Gray. They started the season off a fire, but they faded away, both of them too. So, it's a big wake up call, and Frank Lampard's got to prove himself over a full season with Everton. So we'll see how we get on. So Everton was another one we got wrong. All of us, not for our own fault, but just how badly Everton did. So I thought they finished 11th. I was 5 out. Ryan, you thought, oh god, 8th. You got that? Oh, you were 8 out, mate.
No, massively out.
And then Lou, you got the same. You went the same mate, Everton for 11th. So that's a few points added to our scores, unfortunately. Cheers, Everton. So let's move on to Southampton. I mean, Lou, what do you make of Southampton this season?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a weird one, really, isn't it? Because like they sort of had a sort of decent start to the season, maybe not quite like for the first half or 2/3 of it, sort of was reasonable, and then they just sort of capitulated right at the end, which is quite a weird one, isn't it? You think you can be so consistent and so strong for such a long time, and then completely just sort of capitulate down the final stretch, which has happened to a lot of clubs. But it's kind of I guess the bittersweet for them, because I'm sure the Southampton fans at the start of the season, or at least for most of it, were probably quite pleased. But I think they only won one out of their last 12 games towards the end of the season. So I think that's especially when there are points to be won and lost, when at that period of the season that it's sort of you just cannot afford to do that, can you? That can cost you so many places in the table. So I think the only shining light was maybe James Ward-Prowse, as usual.
Yeah, had a great season.
Top scorer for them, yeah.
Other than that, it's not a great season again for Southampton fans, is it? I'm sure they won't be too pleased.
No, I think it was Hasenhüttl was getting some stick at the end of the season. It was the same last season though, where they completely capitulated at the end of the season. So that's something that they'll need to work. I think they actually did. In the end, we got our predictions pretty much okay with Southampton. I thought they finished 16th, so 1 place out. Ryan, you went with 14th for Southampton, 1 place out, not bad. And then Lou, another one, you got spot on, mate, 15th. So I think they actually did better than at the start of the season, because they saw Danny Ings. It's a bit of where the goals going to come from. I think Brozier on loan from Chelsea did okay at times. So, but I think they just did enough in the end. So Ryan, what do you make of the Southampton?
I was just going to say the same thing. Yeah, I think the fact that they sold one of their best players, Ings, to Villa, I mean, it cost them. Obviously, Ward-Prowse did really well. But it was a drab season, really. And their win of 1, I think, with their last 12 matches, suggests I think there could be trouble ahead. So we'll have to see what next season has in store for them.
Yeah, exactly. And predictions, as I say, we did all right with Southampton. So 14th was Aston Villa. Ryan, what do you make of Villa's season?
Well, like I say, it's we thought there could be a little bit of pressure really on Dean Smith, obviously after Villa spent Jack Grealish, obviously not the number of players from the actual sale of him, but I thought they should have done a lot better. But then again, if you look at it, I think Villa for the last few years they've kind of parachuted. They've been a bit of a declining team, but then last few years we're seeing a little bit of momentum. So I think some Villa fans might say it's not terrible, but I think we should have seen a higher result really, especially selling, like I said, Grealish. You'd have thought they'd have signed some more players and had a bit more momentum. Yeah,
no, good points, mate. And what about you, Lou?
Yeah, Villa season's a weird one. It's almost like paralleled a little bit, some parallels to sort of like Liverpool, when I think, if memory serves, when they sold Torres, and then they started bringing in like Andy Carroll and Ricky Lambert and all those sort of, like from that era, like where you get money and like for the first time, like having a star player, you get big money sort of thing, and then you're trying to reinvest it, and it seems like
Gareth Bale to Real Madrid.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But, it just seems like it kind of derailed them a little bit, like you say, losing the star player, not investing it maybe in the right way, or the signing's not working out the way they wanted them to. But I'll tell you what, getting Coutinho when Gerrard came in, I mean,
did really well.
that's just mad, isn't it? You know, like it's not long ago he was playing for Barcelona and Bayern Munich in, you know, Champions League and
playing alongside Gerrard at Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so obviously we know why the connection's there, and obviously how he's sort of convinced him to come back. But it's almost one of those things. Imagine if you're a Villa fan as well. You know, when that was announced and stuff, you just must be thinking, "Wow!" Like, you know. But yeah, I mean, their season overall, obviously, it wasn't great after losing Grealish and then obviously sacking Dean Smith. But fair play, you know, I think Gerrard's done a really good job coming back in and bringing in, you know, good players. So it's time will tell, won't it? Obviously for next season, but I think they've managed to sort of steady the ship. You know, going a little bit wrong, and they've managed to sort of turn it around to a respectable place, and they can start again next year.
Yeah, I think they made some encouraging signings already. Villa for next season, and you know, if Ollie Watkins got double figures again, Jacob Ramsey was a real shining light. You know, from the academy, he done really well. He got 6 goals, Ramsey this season. So, and in terms of our predictions, well, yeah, again, Villa was a difficult one really to predict. So I went with 10th for Villa, so I was 4 out. Ryan, you went with 9th, so you were 5 out, and Lou, you were 7 out. You thought they finished 7th, so yeah, we that was a struggle with Villa, but yeah, in the end they were pretty much pretty comfortably safe. Let's go to 13th Brentford. Now you guys will be very happy with how Brentford finished the season, because you both picked Brentford as your surprise team for this season. So well done, lads, for getting that right. So Lou, we'll start with Brentford. I mean, I know you predicted Brentford to be 15th, 14th. So you only 1 out, so fair play. But I mean, still, it must have been a huge shock for them to be so good this season.
Yeah, well, Bill, I regretted it instantly when they beat us in the first game of the season, didn't I? So, it was a bittersweet choice instantly. But no, to be fair, like my thought process for that was the same as Leeds last year. And when you come up after a brilliant season in the Championship, which obviously, to be fair, is a really grueling schedule, isn't it? As well, the Championship, the amount of games they play, the frequency, etc. You've almost got nothing to lose by just going out and giving it your every single game, you know. And that was why I picked them as a surprise team. I just think they've got the freedom because there's no expectation, because they've not been in the Premier League. So, you know, it's like comparing against those big teams. So, yeah, I thought they'd done absolutely brilliant. Thomas Frank, didn't he get like a nomination for Manager of the Year as well?
That's right, yeah, right. I'm rightly so.
Yeah, and like, so, you know, fantastic. Ivan Toney was like a shining light. He bullied Arsenal in the first game of the season. That's how I remember his name. I won't forget that anytime soon either. But I must say as well, and also bringing Christian Eriksen in as well. Like,
I was going to say, yeah.
Just brilliant. So, yeah, I mean, outstanding first season for them. I think they should be really proud of themselves.
No, they should be. And for you, Ryan, obviously you predicted Brentford to be a surprise team as well. You must be happy with how they did.
Yeah, exactly. Same points as what you said, and like, I agree with you, Lou, as well. I mean, to secure, you know, Christian Eriksen services as well, I mean, that's fantastic. But like you say, they started as they meant to go on, didn't they? Unfortunately, beating my team, Arsenal. But what a start for them, a confidence boost, you know. They've certainly been a really good addition to the Premier League. And, you know, hopefully it won't be, a little bit like Leeds where they lose a bit of momentum when you think they're going to go up and up and up. But I think they're going to be in the Premier League for a good few more seasons.
Well, if they keep Eriksen, then I think that's a certainty. But he might move on. But I think before they signed him in January, they were going for a bit of a wobble in terms of results. Being picked up when obviously Eriksen signed, but also when their goalkeeper David Raya, he got injured for about 3 or 4 months, and their sub keeper was nowhere near as good. So when he come back and on Eriksen's side, the results picked up. They did, as I say, great results. They drew 3-3 with Liverpool early in the season, which was fantastic. They did double over West Ham as well. So that was some really good results. So yeah, fair play to Brentford. Yeah, I thought Brentford would get relegated, so I thought they'd finish 18th. So I was 5 out with that. And then you boys got pretty much bang on. So Ryan, you had them as 15th, so you're only 2 away, and Lou, you had them as 14th, so only 1 away. So did well there, you two. So let's move on to Crystal Palace, who were 12th. Yeah, a very good season for Patrick Vieira in the end, and Crystal Palace. I mean, I had them down to finish 17th because just a bit unknown with the big turnaround in terms of the players out of contract, how Vieira was going to do in this division. Obviously played fantastically for Arsenal and obviously Man City later in his career, but first time managing in this country. So no, he did really well. I mean, like Conor Gallagher really stood out. Mike Gray, he's been capped by England this season, as well as Tyreek Mitchell. And they've all chipped in with the goals. Gallagher, I'll say, got goals, 8 goals. Usman Edouard got 6. Mateta, another signing, got 5. Just a real solid outfit. Crystal Palace this season, they're more on the front foot than they were under Roy Hodgson anyway. So Ryan, the Eagles, they were certainly soaring this season, weren't they?
Absolutely, mate. But yeah, I'll tell you what, though, I just thought, with Vieira straight away, I was kind of wondering what he'd be like as a manager, thinking, could he be a future Arsenal manager and this and the other? Will he be a flop? But you like to see how these kind of legends, if you like, do with other clubs, first of all. But I think it's fair to say that Vieira did transform the side, which is a remarkable achievement given the size of the task. He inherited the oldest squad in the Premier League, and a team that had been accustomed to Roy Hodgson's defensive style. So they started slowly, but they kept on improving. By the end of the campaign, I think they got in the FA Cup semi-final at Wembley. They've beaten Man City, Tottenham, Arsenal. Man United, and on top of that, they are scoring more goals and creating more chances and having more possessions, all with a younger side. So, yeah, I'm really impressed with Palace and impressed with Vieira's performance as a manager.
No, he did really well. I mean, do you agree with that, Lou?
Yeah, definitely. To be fair, I got that well wrong. I had him like 6.
Oh, we all got them. We all got Palace wrong, yeah.
And to be fair, going off of what they were like historically and stuff, and like you say with the Hodgson method, and they've always sort of been that lower end of the table, haven't they? In recent years, it's kind of just like, didn't really expect much. But to be fair, Vieira, because obviously I think he'd only coached in the States, and I think didn't he coach at Nice as well for a while as well?
That's right, yeah.
So it was sort of like unproven at any sort of bigger club, let alone a Premier League club, if you know what I mean. So to see that he's come in and done well, and I feel like they're probably one of the sort of feel good stories of the season how that's turned out, and I'm sure the fans and stuff will be over the moon with where they finished. Like you say, I mean, even getting the England caps from that squad is great as well. So it seems like things are on the up for them. You're getting England internationals, promising young managers, changing football philosophies in a way that the people want to see, and it's getting results against big teams. So, yeah, I'm sure they're going to be over the moon with this season. It's been a really, really good one for them. So, yeah.
Yeah, the Palace fans will be glad all over. So let's, me and you, Lou, we thought Palace would finish 17th, so we were both 5 out, and then Ryan, you thought it finished 16th, so you were 4 out. So Palace was a tough one for this season to predict. So this is certainly another difficult one to predict. So before the season was Newcastle United, finished 11th. I mean, it's never boring on Tyneside, is it? It's soap opera up there, and this season was no different. I mean, Lou, obviously when we made our predictions, it was Steve Bruce in charge and Mark Ashley owned the club. And obviously, a few months in, that all completely flipped on its head. So, what do you make of Newcastle season?
It's wild, isn't it? It's like a movie waiting to happen, isn't it? It's if you look back at that video and you think, like you say there, who we're talking about, who owns the club and who the manager is, then all of a sudden they're now backed by, international billionaires and promising young managers like Eddie Howe. And bringing in signings like Bruno Guimaraes as well. It's like just brilliant. Just I think it's given them a massive boost. And obviously, you boys know you've been up there as well to see the city and the people and stuff. And it's a very, very proud club with a lot of heritage. So it's quite nice to sort of see, them getting their moment again to sort of bring them up. But obviously, it didn't start off too great, did it? It was looking a little bit ropey, quite ropey. But to be fair, probably based on our predictions or what we were talking about originally, sort of was going in the way that most people probably would have expected for them. Not, especially with Steve Bruce and stuff. And no disrespect to him, obviously he's been in the industry for a long time, but it definitely wasn't going in the right direction for him. And then all of a sudden, you get this massive multi-billionaire consortium bailout. You're bringing in some of the hottest prospects in Europe, and then you'll finish it. Beating Arsenal near the end of the season as well as other big results, and finishing 11th. So. I think they'll be over the moon. But yeah, brilliant season for them as well.
Yeah, it turned out fantastic. As you say, they got off to a terrible start. Steve Bruce was in charge, didn't win his first 8 games of the season. He gets the sack. And then Eddie Howe come in and he couldn't get a few wins. He couldn't get any wins in his first few games. And they're the first side to avoid relegation after not winning the first 14 games. So big turnaround at Newcastle. Obviously, many supporters will be sceptical and for the signings in January, as you say, Luke Guimaraes, you had Kieran Trippier before he get injured, Chris Wood from Burnley, but some astute signings as well. Dan Burn from Brighton was a bit unexpected, and Matt Targett on loan from Villa. I think they're both Premier League experience. They both did pretty well, and 11th. I mean, I think it's the start of things to come with Newcastle. Ryan, what do you make of Newcastle? It's been a topsy-turvy season.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, Bill, certainly not a boring season, with Newcastle. And, I think similar to everything you said, there's not much I can say, but the takeover has changed everything, really. I mean, Newcastle, let's be honest, looked destined to go under with Bruce. But I think a combination of, the investment, Eddie Howe's management, they managed to preserve their Premier League status. It certainly was a season of two halves, wasn't it?
No, definitely, yeah, 100%. And I think obviously we predicted with Bruce, Steve Bruce in charge, but I think despite it, I think we actually did all right with our predictions. So you and Ryan and Lou, you went with Newcastle for 13th, so you only 2 out, and I went with 14th for Newcastle, so only 3 out. So we actually did all right considering, our predictions were pretty much redundant when Eddie Howe took over. So let's move into the top 10 now. Let's go with Wolves, who finished 10th.
Your favourite, Ryan?
Yeah. So, take away, Ryan.
I'm not even going to talk about Wolves on this one. I'm just going to accept it. Over to you, boys.
Just take the L, mate. For this
thing. I'll listen to you, boys.
Lou, take it away with Wolves.
So I mean, Wolves' season, to be fair, was quite solid, really. I mean, they had one of the best defensive records in the entire league, which is fantastic. The only downside is is equally poor at scoring goals. But especially in this Premier League era, when you've got a lot of the sort of top 10 teams score a lot of goals these days as well. They did well to sort of compete and not concede. And I think their goalkeeper Jose Sarr had a great season with clean sheets as well. So really sort of solidifies that defensive record as well. But it just sort of seemed to sort of slide away from them at the end of the season, really. I think they only won like one of their last 9 games. So, it kind of, you think that they finished 10th with the season like that. And maybe if they picked up some more points in those last 9s, they could have had an even better finish to the season. So overall, I think they did really, really well. I'm sure they'll be really pleased and be interesting to see what they do next season now as well.
Yeah, for the first season under Bruno Lage, obviously he's new to this league. I think they did really well. I think they'd be slightly disappointed though, actually, because they were in the run-in with West Ham and a few other teams. So getting to Europe, like Conference League or Europa League or even Champions League at one stage. So yeah, as you say, only won one of their last 9. That sort of cost them really. But 5th best defensive record in the league, sort of back to their best really. As they were the first couple of seasons under Nuno Espirito Santo. And Jose Sarr, as you say, mate, did really well replacing Rui Patricio, who did very well at Wolves. He kept 11 clean sheets. Jose Sarr did really well. Connor Cody was solid as usual at the back. But I think 10th is still a good season, but I think it'd be quite disappointing actually. They didn't finish a little bit higher actually, but still all good signs for Wolves going forward. So so how we did with Wolves, I wasn't too far off. I had them as 12th. Lou, you had them. Another one, Lou, mate. You gone bang on. Well done. They finished 10th. Wolves and Ryan.
We'll move on.
But generally, you had them down as 18th to be relegated. So obviously, that wasn't a good one, mate.
Oh, I've clearly lost this competition.
Mate, everything to play for here. So, but they must have surprised you immensely, then, Ryan, with their season.
Yeah, they did. They've obviously done fantastically well. I mean, they've been doing well since they've been promoted over the last, couple of seasons and stuff. There have been a good side. I just had a feeling this year they were going to capitulate with no, Nuno. I just had a feeling it was going to go the other way, but I was wrong. Yeah, and I'm glad I was wrong, because I like Wolves, and I think they've got, they were defensively solid, weren't they? Only conceding 43 goals, fifth in best in the league. So, 4 marks to them.
Yeah, exactly. Right, let's move into further up the top 10, and it's Brighton. We finished 9th. Well, I mean, what a season for Brighton. I mean, I'm well happy they finished 9th, because I thought they're my surprise team for this season. So I'm well happy they finished 9th, but they finished even higher than what I thought. I thought they'd finish 13th, which would have been a fantastic season. And it's even, probably say it's Brighton's best ever season. It's their highest league finish, and Graham Potter's done an unbelievable job. And I think the previous season, if they got the expected points, expected goals, they would have finished like 6th or something like that. But I think they deserved to it deserved a top 10 finish this season. And I'm glad they got it. Their goals scored and conceded is actually quite similar to last season, but they managed to turn a couple more draws into wins, and then that's helped them shoot up the table. And they were nowhere near relegation, which was absolutely incredible. So. Cucurella, the left back, he did brilliantly in his first season. It's not a surprise that Man City have been linked with him, but incredible season for Brighton. Hats off to Graham Potter and everyone involved. So, I mean, Ryan, what's your motive of Brighton? It's been outstanding.
Yeah, well, I think Graham Potter's new beard did the trick. I think
yeah, he did it. Yeah, it's gonna be like Jesus next season.
Is that like Southgate's waistcoat?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That's his little thing. But no, Brighton finished, 9th for the top flight. Like you said, Bill, best result in their history, wasn't it? So, if they could have scored a few more, they could have potentially snatched a place in Europe. So they've done really well. So, fingers crossed, they're on the way up.
Yeah, definitely. And for you, Lou, I mean, Trossard and Mopo got 8 goals, and they still don't have that centre forward. But still, just every player's playing under the skin of their Graham Potter.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, what more do you say than an unbelievable season? It's kind of like enough said, really, isn't it? But no, I mean, outstanding season, and to sort of to see a team achieve their best Premier League finish ever, is fantastic, and it's sort of a testament to the work that Graham Potter and the team done. I think so. Show whatever they're doing there, whether it's the players, whether it's the attitude, the philosophy, they're doing something right. The stats back it up as well. So, absolutely unbelievable. I didn't think, given their history and stuff, they've always been a respectable team, but the lower half of the table sort of thing traditionally. So, it's a massive surprise, but massive credit to them. They've done outstanding this year. Outstanding work.
Yeah, totally agree. And in terms of the predictions, Adam was 13th, so I was 4 out. Lou, you were Adam 7 out. You thought they'd finish 16th, which still actually would have been a good season, but you were 7 out. And Ryan, you're only 3 out. You had them as 12. So, mixed bag there for how we did with Brighton. So let's move up to 8th, which was Leicester. I mean, Lou, what's your motive of Leicester season?
Yeah, I mean, when you think of Leicester this season, to be honest with you, you sort of feel more, or you think more about their sort of Europa runs, their European competitions, and especially like the games with Roma and stuff like that. That seems to be a highlight. They're running those leagues as well, but it seems like that also sort of derailed their season a little bit as well in terms of like domestic form as well. And Johnny Evans being such a reliable sort of servant of the club, kind of having injury problems again. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Would you boys say that that's a disappointing finish for them? I mean, usually 4th to 6th, maybe. I'd sort of expect Leicester. It seems like maybe they dropped off a little bit, but again, James Maddison has always been the standout, I think, again this season. But I don't know about you, Bill, but
yeah, I think to be honest, though, I think 8th was actually for a while they looked like we're going to finish like 12th, 13th at one stage, but I think they'd be well happy with 8th, considering I think Wolves must have been ahead of them for quite a lot of the season. And then they would finish 2 places above them, so they actually did well to get 8th for Leicester in the end. But I think they could have finished. We all thought they finished 5th, so all of us were 3 out with Leicester. But I think you mentioned Johnny Evans, he's been out for quite a lot of the season. Wesley Fofana has been out for pretty much the whole season, I think. He only played about 7 or 8 games, I think. So he's been a huge miss. And Jamie Vardy, even though he's missed a few games, he still scored 15 goals. So, I think I don't think Tielemans' form has been as it has been last couple of seasons. So, they're still a good side. Leicester, I think 8th. Obviously they won the league, but like they've showed, under Brendan Rodgers, not a flash in the pan. I mean, it's amazing at the turnaround. We're saying 8th, but they disappointed, but still fantastic, especially after their European runs and stuff. So, I mean, what do you make of Leicester, Ryan?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think obviously unlike West Ham, I mean, Leicester seem to fail to juggle their European and domestic, commitments. I think the 14 games they played in the Europa League and Conference League held them back, as did injuries and losing players to the Africa Cup of Nations, etc. But, they never really got going from that perspective. But like you said, though, Bill, they could have finished a lot worse. So to finish 8th, they managed to turn it around, and they're still showing promising signs.
No, absolutely, mate. Totally agree. Right, let's go on to my team, West Ham. Finished 7th. Fantastic season. One of my best I've ever been to. Going to all the home games, in the league, in the cups, and the European, Europa League games at home. Yeah, but absolutely outstanding. I mean, still only time in the club's history we finished in the top 7 2 seasons in a row in the top flight. Unbelievable. I mean, Declan Rice was superb once again. Jarrod Bowen's forced himself to the England squad, and rightly so. I think he should go to the World Cup. He's got 22 goal involvements, 12 goals and 10 assists. He's been fantastic. McAllister got double figures again, and played as pretty much the only centre forward we've got for the whole season. So, Kurt Zuma, off the field, there's been problems, but on the field, he's been outstanding at the back. And just been a real good season. Now, on another day, if we beat Brighton on the last day, we finish 6th again. So, outstanding. Get to the semi-finals of the Europa League was beyond any West Ham fans' dreams this season. And, on another day, Van Cresswell doesn't get sent off in the second day. I think we beat Frankfurt and get to the final. So, outstanding. Such a small squad. David Moyes and the staff have been absolutely incredible. It's a real brilliant time to be a West Ham fan. I can't believe it. With the season we've had to back up last season as well. So, Lou, West Ham must be surprised that we backed it up this season as well as last season.
Yeah, it's mad because obviously when we were talking, last season and things like that, we were sort of saying the thing that hampered West Ham at the end of last season, although he still had a fantastic season, was the squad depth, wasn't it? That's what we were saying, that there was a lack of depth and you were hampered by injuries, and those sort of things were the things that were holding you back. And even this year, in spite of having some of the same sort of problems, you could argue, it's just one of the best runs you could have ever seen in modern day history, like modern football, really. It's absolutely brilliant. And I think it's been an absolutely outstanding season for West Ham. And I was gutted for you that you didn't go all the way, because I genuinely think if you reached that final, I think you would have won it. I really do.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
Just to think what that would have been like a European trophy for West Ham as well. But fair play to the players, the manager, whatever they're doing top to bottom at your club is spectacular, because it's been so good to watch. It's been such a nice feel good factor, There's always something going on that's just brilliant. So outstanding season, really is outstanding.
No, totally agree. It's been a real pleasure to watch the games this season. So, Ryan, what about you, mate, for West Ham this season?
He's just fantastic season, and again, 2 good seasons from West Ham. I think, like you said, Bill, I think is it the first time in their history that they've had 2 years in the bounce in the top 7?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, incredible, and it's just great to see David Moyes do well again. He's had another chance at West Ham, and he was always a fantastic manager, wasn't he? When he was at Everton, what he did for them. But I think obviously going to Man United kind of affected him for a while. But now, second stint at West Ham, he's shown what he's made of. And I think West Ham now are definitely finding their way. They've got a good, coaching staff behind them. And as well as doing well in the Premier League, they, like you say, what a treat they were to be in the, semi-final of the Europa League. And I think they'll do well next year in the Conference League. I've got a good feeling about it. So, yeah, I reckon I'm not a West Ham fan, of course, but it was a pleasure. Like you say, Lou, it was a pleasure to watch.
Yes, I knew we'd get you to say it. Yes.
Superb season for West Ham. I'm sure you guys will be really happy with that.
Yeah, unbelievable, mate. Unbelievable. So, in terms of predictions, we're not too far away with West Ham. So I had them as 9th. Lou, you had them at West Ham as 6th. So only one place away. And Ryan, you had West Ham's 10th, so only 3 out. So we did pretty well with the predictions for West Ham. So, sorry, let's move to 6th, Man United. I mean, a disaster of the season. Absolutely
Not
terrible.
a pleasure to watch, Bill.
Dreadful.
No, absolutely terrible. Shocking. Ryan, do you want to kick off? Because me and Lou could spend a few hours talking about Man United.
I think I was shocked, how bad they've done this year. There was a part of me that thought they should have given Solskjaer a bit more time, but no, not really. I think, United were awful. I think they scored 57 goals and conceded 57, making this the first season in 32 years in which they have not had a positive goal difference.
No,
the only saving grace is that they avoided to play in the Conference League, but dreadful season for them.
Take it away, Lou.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely abysmal. It's such a weird, such a weird season for them. I just think they got it wrong at so many points. I mean, what we have to sing is Lord Cristiano's praises because he is still an absolute beast. 18 goals, 3rd best top scorer, even though he wasn't playing every game as well. Still can do it at the highest level. What is he, 37 years old? And I love how they tried to make him as a scapegoat for some bad performances and stuff. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like the shining light of the team. He's the one positive out of this season from. But I don't know. I mean, I still think they should have stuck with Ollie, to be honest. If they wanted to go with Ten Hag or something, I think they should have stuck with Ollie. At least there would have been, there would have been some sort of feel-good factor. I think, was it third they finished last year? Or was it second? Second. So, I think they would have been better sticking with him. Obviously, bringing in Varane. I mean, the start of the season, you're bringing in Varane, like a world-class experience.
And Sancho.
And Sancho as well. That hasn't really worked out, sadly, has it? But I sort of feel like Sancho was derailed by the signing of Ronaldo, really, because whatever sort of thunder had as him being the new man, just when you bring in, an absolute United legend, then you can't really go anywhere. So I feel like that might have derailed him a little bit. But yeah, I think with the Ranić thing just was a disaster. Obviously,
they're terrible in the end.
I think they got it wrong, firstly, by saying interim manager, and then I think they got it wrong by giving him like some sort of coaching position. Just the whole thing, whatever they were doing, changing managers, sacking managers, offering consultancy roles, temporary basis, trying to find someone else. They haven't got a Scooby, whatever they were trying to do. So and it just sort of highlights their problem over the last 10 years, doesn't it? And like it's the same with the Ranić thing. They brought in Van Gaal after the success at the Euros. They brought in Mourinho, a proven winner. They've tried a club legend in Ollie, who got a good, respectable finish with them last season. They've brought in good players, spent money again, but it just doesn't. Whatever they try, it doesn't work. So I just don't see. I think this season's just been an absolute disaster from top to bottom. From performances to attitude to all the dramas, the things about player dressing room leaks, the stories, the deadwood in there. You probably couldn't write a worse season for a club in terms of not necessarily like performances in terms of getting relegated and stuff, but just controversies and dramas and wrong decisions and fan bases being split. It's just, they're way off it, aren't they? They're a long, long way off.
Yeah, I think Amazon would be gutted they didn't do the documentary of Man United this season. God, rather than Arsenal. But spot on with what you boys said. A terrible season, shocking, worst points in Premier League in their Premier League history. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I thought Man United through second again. I think based on the signings they made, Sancho, Varane, and Ronaldo, as we've said. But God, they had a terrible start. They got absolutely hammered by Liverpool at home. Embarrassing, and equally so against City. Even though the scoreline was only 2-0 against City, but way off it. So I think Solskjaer had to go. But Ranić, I mean, as you say, though, to get him in as a coach, I mean, when's the last time he coached a team? 5-6 years ago, was it? Even more. So, and they didn't really work under him. They played even worse, actually, at times. They lost to Palace on the last day, lost to Brighton, and had some, real shocker results under him. So, that experiment was woeful, wasn't it? Absolutely shocking. So, be interesting to see how they get on with Ten Hag. I think we'll probably do a video on him in a few weeks, but I think he's the one manager they've actually hired in their prime since Sir Alex Ferguson compared to the other ones. But it's a big job, big turnaround. So, I don't know. At the moment, I don't hold much hope for him unless you can have it might help him. There's a few players that have left on free, like Paul Pogba, Juan Mata, Jason Lingard, etc. And wages and that, but yeah, it's going to be a big task for Ten Hag, so he's going to need a bit of time. So, yeah, in terms of the predictions, yes, I had him as second, so I was 4 out. Ryan, you had Man United as third, so you were 3 out, and Lou, you had United as fourth, and you were 2 out. So yeah, we all got United wrong. Unfortunately, let's move to Arsenal in the fifth. And in the end, it probably a bit of a disappointment to miss out on Champions League, lads. But before the season, I think you in particular, Lou, you didn't have any hope for Arsenal at all.
No, I think I had him as like 9th or something like that.
Yeah.
I would say that my prediction was justified for most of the season, if I'm honest.
Oh, especially after the first 3 games, we lost all of them.
That's what I mean. It was just for us, it was an absolute disaster. Just disaster from start to finish. We just got so many things wrong. I must admit,
he finished 5th. It's not that much of a disaster, is it? He finished 5th.
Yeah, but it's just luck, isn't it? It's pot luck. It's the attitude that we should have been like. We just bottle it. We can constantly bottle it, and that's the point. If we were consistently crap for a whole season, you finish 9th, 10th, 11th, you can kind of go, all right, fair enough, we were atrocious. But the point being that where you have the moments where we could have got top 4, a Champions League space for the first time in years, and then we lose 2 out of 3 games that we needed to win. You know what I mean? Or we'll play crap against teams that we're supposed to win, and then we'll go and beat Chelsea and whoever else in West Ham in consecutive matches, and then go and lose to. Do you know what I mean? It's very, very inconsistent for Arsenal. I think all the indecision with contracts of players, the statuses, whether it's been Lacazette or whatever, whether it was selling off Aubameyang, I just don't think we knew. Obviously the thing that's been sold for Arsenal fans is the concept of this project and this long-term rebuilding thing, and that's fine. But it seems like it was going on all at the midst throughout the season at different points. You go from 1 minute for Aubameyang not being able to score goals, then a fallout, then him getting sold off, then a rebounding in form, then Lacazette sort of filling the space, then dropping off, then we're getting Nketiah to play in there. There's just lots of things as an Arsenal fan for us this season where I think it just. It's like a soap playing out on TV in real life. Just lots.
We've got the Amazon documentary.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, we're going to find out, aren't we? But yeah, God knows what was going on for us this season. But I know we finished 5th, but we should have finished 4th. If we'd have not lost to Newcastle, at least got a draw out of Spurs. And whilst we were in our good form after beating Chelsea and West Ham. And I think it was another 3rd big team in that run prior to that. We should have been a lot better. We should have been in Champions League places. So just in terms of, whilst the position is acceptable, I just think the attitude and all the drama and the stuff around the club this year wasn't good. I don't think we achieved what we should have achieved, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I'm not best pleased.
I've made that clear, mate. Ryan, you
he's going to go, it's a great season. I love it.
Yeah, I was going to say, same as Lou, but I think the 3 defeats in April really hurt Arsenal. Against the team, they lost to Palace. I think it was Brighton and Southampton. 3 teams you should wipe the floor with, really. I think that cost them.
Yeah, I've kind of got mixed emotions with Arsenal at the moment. I mean, I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm loyal to the club. Don't just support teams that are winning all the time. But it's annoying, isn't it? Because I do agree that if you look at last season in terms of where we finished, 8th and then 5th, that's an improvement. We finished higher than what I predicted, finished higher than what Lou predicted. So if we'd have taken the 5th as a prediction at the start of the season, we probably would have said, okay, that's progress. But the problem is when it mattered, we trying to get in the top 4, we couldn't do it. We just failed to deliver, and we're just clearly not good enough.
Especially the games in hand, mate, as well.
Absolutely. Like when we should have destroyed Tottenham, show what we were about. Newcastle, how did we, lose 2-0 there? And all the other games that you said, we're just not consistent enough at the moment. And to be honest, if we'd have got into it's kind of like a double-edged sword, really. We're pissed off that we didn't make Champions League because we blew it. But then again, if we'd have got in the Champions League, we'd have been destroyed. So it's kind
of... We've had more money spent on quality players.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, that's what it doesn't matter. Once you're in the thing, even if you get obliterated in the first round, at least you've got the players in, you've got the TV rights, the money, the career prospects for these other players. It's way better for them, at least, And we had, I think this year we had the built-in excuse of, oh well, this year we haven't got the Europa League. We're not playing on a Thursday. We're not doing this. Just, and when we had the opportunity.
That's what makes it even more disappointing. Is we should have got fourth.
Yeah.
I do look. I'm one of these people. I'm not get Arteta out tomorrow. I'm not, all for Arteta at the same time. But I'm not a firm believer of just constantly sack managers all the time. I think there is a project. I do see some positive direction, but the question is, how long do you keep going in one direction? So I think personally, for me, this next season's going to be kind of the season, all or nothing. Pardon the pun for Arteta.
God.
Yeah. Well, I think some of the signings
Ramsdale as well. Ramsdale was excellent.
Yeah, I think he did 12 clean sheet. He didn't even start the whole season, did he? So I think Ben White and Tomiyasu, I think they did pretty well. I think from what I saw as well. So yeah, they need to make some more signings. Also, if they're going to at least even stay where they are. So yeah, as you boys said, Ryan, you had Arsenal down as 6th, so did I. So we were 1 place down. Lou, you had Arsenal down in 9th, so you were 4 out for that one. So I'm sure you'd be happy that you were wrong. 4 places out.
Once,
Right, let's move into the top 4. So Arsenal's rivals probably makes it even worse, lads, that Tottenham pipped Arsenal to the Champions League place. But a great turnaround under Antonio Conte. I mean, Spurs won the first, the first 3 games under Nuno Espirito Santo, but it didn't last much longer. Defeats to you boys, Arsenal, West Ham, Maynard, cost him his job really. So, Antonio Conte is a born winner, brilliant manager, and he's completely turned it around. I mean, Lou, what do you make of Tottenham? Obviously, praise them through gritted teeth, I imagine.
Yeah, to be fair, it is through gritted teeth, but an unbelievable turnaround, to be honest with you. I think from where they started, which was absolutely abysmal, and it just wasn't going well, and any Spurs fan that you speak to would say, the football was terrible, the atmosphere wasn't great because everyone was so unhappy with it.
Yeah.
To then turn it around, and you get Son, and who was outstanding this year as well. I think it was a joint top scorer.
Joint top scorer with Salah, yeah.
Yeah, which is amazing. And Harry Kane, I think, was up there with assists or something like that as well. So I think both of them
third best goal involvements with Kane, yeah.
Yeah, so 2 of them in the Premier League top players, top team of the season, if you like. But Conte just proved what he can do. Just especially like with their defensive resoluteness as well, how he turned that around as well, because. That wasn't very, very good at the start, was it, as well? But it seemed like January was the turning point for them, bringing in Kulusevski and was it Bentancur as well?
Bentancur, he did well in midfield as well, yeah.
They just seemed to, January was a real turning point for them, and then they turned it around. And it's kind of one of those weird ones where, to be honest with you, to me, I know it's very easy to say this, because especially being an Arsenal fan, but it's like, I sort of think 5th or 6th was where they really would have finished if we hadn't bottled it so much. That's what makes it worse as well. But fair play to them. Like, they deserve to be where they are. It doesn't matter what we think. The facts are the facts, and they performed well enough. And I think they had one of the best defensive records in the league as well, but only behind City and Liverpool as well. So, fair play to Conte and all the team and the players, because they did an outstanding job. They really turned it around. So I think they'll be over the moon, back in Champions League again this year as well. So we know what Conte's like in big competitions. Yeah. See what the future holds for them next year in Europe.
Yeah, great turnaround by Antonio Conte. I mean, do you agree with that, Ryan?
Yeah, massively. I mean, like I say, it wasn't exactly successful with Nuno, was it? I thought he would have been a good fit for Spurs. I was, a bit shocked that they sacked him so soon, but obviously it wasn't going to plan. But then obviously, like you say, born winner with Conte came in and took him from a declining club to Champions League. A good season in the end for Spurs at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. I think with our predictions, obviously we predicted with Nuno being in charge the whole season. So me and you, Ryan, thought they finished 7th, so we were 3 out, and Louis thought they finished 8th, so we were 4 out. So, but again, a bit like Newcastle, a bit hard to predict when they change the manager halfway through the season. So in terms of another team that have had strange season in different ways is Chelsea. I mean, Lou, I thought they were going to be right up there in terms of challenging at the start of the season, and they were. But then, the Romelu Lukaku business, his infamous interview, and then obviously the problems with Roman Abramovich. He's no longer the owner. So, in the end, they finished third, which is still decent. But, I mean, one of them, if only seasons, you'd say.
Yeah. I mean, I say it's a bit of a very odd season for them, wasn't it? Because it sort of seemed like, to be honest with you, the thing that broke their season down, and obviously saying broke that, I mean, they still finished third, to be fair to them. So, maybe breaking their season isn't maybe like the most fair terminology because it was still successful. But the thing that sort of hampered them wasn't footballing stuff; it was political stuff. Whether it was like player dissent, maybe if you want to look at it that way, which I just think was a terrible choice from their biggest strike. One of their biggest transfers, bringing him back to the club and all the rest of it after a massive season, Lukaku, to give him like an interview like that. God knows what happened with this PR team or whatever, or around that whole fiasco. But that sort of seemed to be the start of the end. And then you get into like pretty much February when the conflict in Ukraine starts, and then all the sanctions things and the Abramovich problems. It seems around the Christmas period, just after that into the new year and the earliest months of the year, it just sort of derailed them, didn't it? Obviously, restrictions with fans as well not being allowed in, and wasn't there like reduced wages or something as well, and just uncertainty about what's going to happen. I think their season was just derailed by non-footballing reasons, really. So I think if you're a Chelsea fan, I think you'll be really disappointed. Not necessarily by the performances, but by the stuff that derailed a really positive start, especially such a positive start from Tuchel last year as well. Like really, really sort of putting them in a good position. So I think obviously Mason Mount and Reece James as well, great. Outstanding performances. I think they're real standouts. I think Chelsea fans will be really happy with them. Edward Mendy as well, another great season between the sticks. And I think there was FA Cup finals as well. They reached as well.
They lost to Liverpool in both Carabao Cup and FA Cup.
Yeah,
final.
Penalties. Yeah. So I mean, do you know what I mean? They weren't outclassed or whatever in those games. It was down to 50-50 chances. So I don't think they can be too sad about the actual performances of the team and that sort of thing. I just think all the other stuff has derailed their season. So I think overall the fans will be pleased. It's just stuff outside their control has really hampered them. So it'll be interesting to see what the future holds with the new consortium and the new ownership and all this kind of stuff, and see where that puts them next year. Really.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, how about you, Ryan, for Chelsea? What do you make of their season?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's not a lot more I can say, because ultimately, I think the whole situation behind the scenes with Abramovich kind of hindered things a little bit. But all things considered, the fact that they got top four, you could argue is a successful season for them. It'd be interesting to see how they progress now with obviously new ownerships and what's going on. But, they only conceded 33 goals. I mean, Mendy keeping 14 clean sheets, top four, I would say, and all things considered, with obviously the backlash of the media, like say Lukaku and obviously Abramovich, I'd say a successful season for them.
Yeah, no, agreed, mate. Okay, right, let's move into the runners-up, which is Liverpool. Dip last season, Ryan, but I mean, they were back to somewhere near their best this season.
Absolutely. I mean, sort of having nearly missed out on the season's Champions League altogether. I mean, Liverpool, completely turned it around. I mean, obviously in the final this season and second in the Premier League, could have won last minute. I wasn't watching on the day, but I was keeping track of the scores, and the fact that they very nearly won the Premier League, could have done the quadruple. I think very good season for them. They still did the domestic cup double. So, it's a tricky one to see how they need to improve, really, to sort of try and win the title next year, to sort of go for it, really. But like I say, to take the title race to the final day, amazing achievement. I think it's still going to be between City and Liverpool next year.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree with that, mate. I mean, how about you, Lou? I mean, an amazing and another incredible season under Jurgen Klopp for Liverpool.
Absolutely outstanding. just monstrous. I just you just think, just to take a second to think that in this era of modern football, with the wages and the talent and the skills and exposure, you think they're on course for a quadruple at one point, and only losing 2 games in a season again in this era. There's all for them, and City. It gets to a point where it's hard to have enough words to describe how good they are and what they, their achievements. They had the most shots per game all season, for out of any team. They had like an 85% passing accuracy. They were the 3rd best team in possession or the most possession, all season, only behind City and Chelsea. Just again, 2nd in the league for aerial duels, 1 this year. So just everything about them is class. And the thing is, with teams like these, it's just like, what do you say? They're disappointed because if they hadn't lost maybe 1 game, they might have won the title.
They only lost 2 games, mate.
That's what I mean. Like if they hadn't lost 1, like they'd only lost 1 and not 2. That's the difference now between them winning the league or City. That's unbelievable. But yeah, having the fans back in obviously really helped them, I think, massively. Having the stadiums full again. But yeah, amazing season for them.
Yeah, no, fair play to them. It's another season where they've got 90+ points, but they're going against the juggernaut of Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. So then, yeah, if they didn't have Man City, they would have won at least a couple more Premier Leagues, you would have thought. But Alisson tied Edison with the Golden Glove, got 20 clean sheets. As I say, only lost 2 games. Mo Salah's joint top scorer, had the most goal contributions. But Luis Diaz, what a signing he was, lads, in January. Fantastic impact, 4 goals and 3 assists.
Yeah,
just fit brilliantly with Liverpool's style of play, and I think he'd be in for an amazing season next year, especially as Sadio Mane might leave in this summer as well. There's probably Mo Salah's contract as well. So yeah, I think they've got a ready-made replacement for one of them in Luis Diaz already, and Liverpool really unfortunate, but yeah, still an incredible season. And let's go to the final side, Man City. We all thought they'd win the league, and then that's what happened. It went to the last day, but Louis, another title for City, their 4th in 5 seasons. It's run out of words. Like Liverpool run out of words how brilliant they are.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? Ridiculous. And you think, and they scored 99 goals without a recognised number 9 as well.
Yeah.
And now they've brought in Erling Haaland next year.
Exactly.
It's just ridiculous. But I won't go on. I mean, outstanding team, outstanding manager. De Bruyne was brilliant again. Like I say, you talk about Edison in the same breath as Alisson as well in terms of their performances between the sticks. Just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal season. Just absolutely spectacular. I'd like deserved winners. I think all of us, we all predicted them without fail, didn't we, to win it this year? We were pretty confident. So as we all thought, but just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Exactly, and I'm sure you echo that, Ryan.
100%. I mean, like I say, City did not need Kane to retain their title, did they? Or reliant on Grealish.
Ryan's even modelled himself to look like Pep now. Look.
What can I say? But anyway, so it's just fantastic season. Like I say, there was talks about would Kane make a difference? They didn't get him in the end, and it didn't hinder their chances. Weren't reliant on Grealish. Like I say, 4th title in 5 seasons for City, fantastic. And scored 99 goals without recognised number 9. Fantastic squad, fantastic.
Yeah, unbelievable.
What a season, lads! What a season.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah,
take a ball, son. Take a ball.
And especially that last day, saw some that nothing was guaranteed. Nothing was sewn up. So unbelievable season. And as you say, guys, we all predicted Man City would win the league. So no points there, which is great. So let's go to the points total, which I think we've all been looking forward to. So obviously, like golf, the less points, the better. So let's go with my points. So I end up with 56 points. Watching Spencer Owens' videos, he usually goes with 60 and below is a good score. So I'm with 50, especially after my Leeds capitulation. I'm quite happy with it. Just going to end up with 56. Ryan, you got the same score as me, mate. You had 56 as well.
Oh, hey.
think you'll be happy with, especially with Wolves in fucking 18th.
Yeah,
Delighted with that, mate.
I'm fucking lucky, that's for sure.
But the winner with 48 points is you, Lou. Well done, mate. 48.
Listen, I'll have the trophy and I'll buy the bubbly.
Right. Checks in the post. Yeah, I think to help you, Lou, you managed to get a number of teams bang on. You got Norwich, Watford, and Burnley correct, Southampton correct, Wolves correct, and Man City, and then didn't have any real howlers apart from maybe Brighton, and Villa. But that's kind of it, mate. So yeah, well done, mate. You got 48. So you're the winner for this season. And in terms of who we went up against this season, so Lou, you got the same as Statman Dave, which is good,
nice.
and Fogdad as well. You know, Fogden's old man. Yeah. But me and you, Ryan, we ended up beating Spencer himself. He got 58 points, and Fogden he got 60. So that's quite good. Let's go to the bonus points. So we get 5 points for getting our surprise team correctly. So basically, I went with Brighton, so I get 5 points off my score, so I get 51 overall. Ryan, obviously, you went with Brentford, so you get 5 points off 51, and then Lou, again, you went with Brentford, and you end up with 43. So we all did pretty well there, lads.
Nice. That was a good result for us all across the board, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I can't complain about that at all. So cheers, guys. So some good predictions, some absolute shockers, but you're going to get that on the Premier League predictions. So I look forward to it'll be August, so it won't be long now before next season.
Mad, and the Amazon documentaries will be out as well. That'll be fun.
All or nothing, basically nothing.
Yeah, that'll definitely pass the time. So all right, nice one, lads. So Ryan, Lou, thanks for joining, lads, and we'll see you for our Premier League predictions pretty soon.
Yeah, cheers for having us, Bill.
Yeah.
Right, no worries. All right, thanks everyone for watching. Subscribe to Garage Football if you're new around here, and like us on the socials, and let us know your predictions. Did you get any correct, any howls like we did for the season just gone? So let us know in the comments below. Great to read those. So we'll see you soon. All the best. Farewell.